Welcome to a new edition of If I Ever Live to Be, the podcast. And this is the one that everyone has been waiting for because we have the Matt and Buffy Payne. And I just had Stephanie Almond on, who you both know. And I had Courtney Robinson on. And so I keep talking about this couple, Matt and Buffy Payne. And so I said on Stephanie's episode that I did, the really cool social media influencer spiel where I was like, I am not sponsored by Matt and Buffy Payne, but I will be talking about them all the time. And you're here now, so welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You all are involved in so many things, which is partly why we're here today, because we're definitely going to promote those things. So I'm just going to do a very light introduction of the two of you, and then we're just going to jump in to all the things. So Buffy is FEW Atlanta president. Matt is an Air Force veteran. He's also been a police officer, so they love on our first responders. And together they are founders of Outer Circle, and they've been in the security space for years. So not like IT security, which is what you're probably thinking about, but like personal security and all the stuff that like produces those true crime podcast that everyone loves. But you've worked with major companies, PayPal, Intuit, JP Morgan Chase, Equifax. So I'm really excited to have you both here today. And as I mentioned, we're just going to dive into all the things and kind of talk about you two individually, which is what makes the two of you coming together all that more amazing, and then all that you do. So I would love, because I think both stories probably intertwine. Buffy, we'll start with you. Just tell us how you got here. Like, why did Buffy Payne want to go into the security space and take care of bad guys? Let's face it.
Yeah, if you had asked me many moons ago if that's what I was going to do, I would have told you no. I'm a computer nerd by heart, and so my initial college education was in computer science. And I also worked for McDonald's at the time. McDonald's was paying my school, my education, so that I would have a means to go to college. While at McDonald's, and once I finished school, they offered me to go to Hamburger University, which led into a 10-year career with McDonald's, running restaurants in the Atlanta area. When I left McDonald's, I went to work for the bank for Circuit City. And I used to drive folks crazy because I was in customer service, but I could always find out when somebody was doing something bad or wrong. And so I very quickly evolved into the security department, building out investigations and all those things. And I really kind of found my knack. Right. And I got heavily involved in the industry, became president of some organizations that were a combination of law enforcement and investigators, and just really took off from there. I went back to school, added another degree to my portfolio, and that really launched the security career for me. And from that, I evolved through several organizations, running global criminal investigations, doing some really, really cool, but I can't talk about stuff, put many people in jail, kept many people safe. And it's been an absolutely amazing career. And then God got a hold of me and said, okay, you're done with that. It's time to do something else.
I love it. So Matt, how did you get your start along your path, and how did it cross with Buffy's?
So I don't know if you know, but my dad was killed in Vietnam when I was 2 months old. So I come from a military family, and I took that same track. Right out of high school, I went in the military, and I became a combat controller in the Air Force. And there's I think when I was in, there was maybe 230 of us in the world who did what I did. And so, spent 10 years doing that and was medically retired in 1995. And had no idea. It was a very, very quick retirement for me. I had 4 knee operations. I blew both of my knees out, and we got back from Haiti, and my orthopedic surgeon said, I'll give you 5 years before you do so much damage you can't walk again. While you're young, let me put your records in front of the review board. And he kind of implied that it would take a while, right? Nothing with the military's quick. And so they went in the end of January, kind of the middle to end of March. I'm standing at the outside the gate with my bags, not knowing what I'm going to do. Wow. And so my mom and dad lived up in New Jersey. My mom had remarried. My stepdad was a pilot for TWA. And I moved back up there and had no idea, decided law enforcement, and started I worked at U.S. Customs to get my foot in the door, had no desire to stay at Customs, and then was a street cop, and then a detective, and then retired as a chief along the way, and then started working in the private world. And Buff and I both had a really, really good friend that knew both of us, but we didn't know each other. And he was a U.S. Marshal, and we were writing a paper way before Bitcoin on cryptocurrency, on the blockchain and what cryptocurrency was. And it was just when like wallets were coming out and electronic currency was coming.
Yeah.
And so John was like, Matt, you need to meet my friend Buffy, and Buffy, you need to meet my friend Matt. And finally, this paper got us together to collaborate on the paper. And then, the security world is small, and, she went her way and I went my way. And we would see each other at conferences, and I would call and say, hey, do you have a guy for this? And she would call and say, hey, do you have a guy for that? And, we would just help each other. And, with John, everywhere we would go, it'd kind of be the 3 of us or the group of people. And then life happens, and here we sit, as Chicken Dude, years later.
That's it.
So
I love it. And that's really, first, I would be remiss if I didn't absolutely thank you both for your service, because you really have protected us and many other individuals for years. And a lot of that is, what we see, but a lot of it is what we don't see. There's a lot of threats that we don't see every day, and you two are part of that. Really protects us. So we thank you, and I thank you. And that's really how I initially found both of you, is through Outer Circle, because I was looking for a way to just love on our veterans. I was like, I just want a way to love on our veterans. And so that's how I initially got connected with you. But once I did, Buffy, you were just getting started with FEW.
Right.
And FEW is Fellowship of Extraordinary Women. And you were the president of the Atlanta chapter, and you were like, hey, we're doing this leadership conference. I'd love it if you come. I'm like, yes, anything leadership stuff. And extraordinary women I love. So all that went hand in hand, and I was there, and I've been, a member ever since. So tell us about FEW.
Yep. So FEW is an amazing organization where we bring women together to pour into women and focus on their faith, their family, and their finances, helping them realize what their God-given gifts and talents are and help them use them in ways that they never imagined. We so often find women want to speak or tell their story, whether it's verbally or in writing, but they just don't quite know how, or they don't have the confidence to do so. So FEW's mission is to help women live extraordinary lives and tell their stories. And so we do that.
Yeah. And I, just listening to you talk, what's interesting to me is my kind of the theme of the past first podcast conversations that I've had on this particular podcast have really come down to this foundation of there's a lot of different things that have happened, and it feels like just a bunch of individual pieces of fabric.
Mm-hmm.
But God has really brought all those pieces together to make this one beautiful piece of art, this one tapestry that just comes together. And you can't really see it until it's all put together because we're too close up and looking at the details. But at the end, it really starts to form this wonderful masterpiece of art, which is what God does. So all of that we just talked about, how did you take that leap from, okay, we're in the security space to now, you alluded to it a little bit, Buffy, but you were like, God was working on us. And so you've kind of moved, not necessarily out of that space. A lot of what you still do is grounded in that, which we can talk about.
Right.
But it's really become more feeding into leaders and individuals and building them up. But that Christ-centered foundation is laid across the board.
Yeah. It's something that had you asked me 5 years ago, would I have left the corporate world to do this? I would have been like, no, I can manage a corporate job and a nonprofit and all of these other items, right? But God really got working on me and said, no, this is, in all your career, I've taught you how to network. I've taught you how to build a community. You can stand up and talk to people. You know how to protect people. All of these skills I've given you and I've taught you, and these experiences and the things that you've gone through you're going to leave the corporate world now, and this is what you're going to focus on. God had me write a book my first few months once I left the corporate world. Hopefully, by the end of this year, that book would be coming out, right? But all of these doors that he's been opening in the lives and the community that he's been bringing around us has been absolutely incredible. Like I look back at the past year since I've left, the people I've met, people that I would not have met. I truly believe I would not have met had I stayed in the corporate world, because I would have been so ingrained in that side of the business and less in tune with being in the community and impacting others. So that's been like just this incredible journey, right? And that step of faith, that first step of faith, that leap, right? But you know what? People ask me all the time if I miss it, if I miss the corporate job and all that travel and just the go, and I truly don't. I've not missed anything with it. And as I hear, the challenges in the corporate world and see this stuff in the news, I am so thankful that I am out and on this side of the wall, so to speak, so that I can be there to pray with others, to impact others, and help develop a community of care around others.
And so at this point, Matt and Buffy, you're both out of the corporate world, right? And you're doing your businesses and nonprofits full time.
Yeah.
So what was that? Because what we also haven't mentioned is you're both parents while you're doing all this. And so I know for me and my experience, and the same thing, Buffy, just hearing people talk, when you make that transition of corporate world to, okay, I'm going to go off and do my own business. The scariest thing and the pushback is the stable income, which you kind of figure out is a little bit of a fallacy, right? Because if we really break it down, it's someone else in control of our paycheck versus us being in control of our paycheck. But that can still be scary, especially if you're a household and both individuals are stepping out together. So what was that like? What was that process of like, hey, we're going to step out and we're going to do this?
What was that?
She's looking at you.
What was that like, dear?
Well, so there's very few people right, that know kind of the full story of on my side. And, I mean, we know you well enough, Whitney, that, you know parts of it, right? I was diagnosed with cancer and have struggled with PTSD for a while. And when the cancer was initially a lower level, a lower grade, I guess. And that was a year and a half ago. This year, I had another test and it was raised to a higher level and a higher risk. So, and as things progressed, and I should preface that I walked around for 35 years with PTSD, not knowing I had it. And, I talk with my therapist at length, and I did a big study at Ohio State and had a long conversation with my therapist on multiple occasions. And, I have a bourbon glass at the house and I have a shirt at the house, and it's, I joke with people, and that's my favorite. And it says, I hate people. And, and he really put it in perspective, and he goes, you actually don't hate people. PTSD hates people. Mm-hmm. And so, as the cancer kind of progressed and the PTSD progressed and things started accumulating, my care team came and said, look, you really need to be focusing on your health. And, we really, really think that you need to be leaving the stresses that come along with a corporate job, and all of the other aspects that happen with that. And, as I sat back and looked, and it was a very, so I was a consultant when she called me, and I was in New Jersey with the kids, and she called me one Saturday and said, all right, well, God just got a hold of me, and I was in the shower, and I need to leave my corporate job, and I need to do this, this, and this. And I said, all right, let's do it. Whatever it is that you need to do, and we will flip-flop. I will leave the consulting world and I will go get a corporate job, which I did. And it was, I was only in the corporate world for 5 months, I think, before the cancer treatment escalated, and then PTSD escalated and things like that. And, we kind of looked at each other and said, I don't really know how this is going to work, mm-hmm. but kind of don't really have a choice.
God's got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. We pray a lot, and just, we have gone through struggles, and he's been there. So, yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
I want to give us an opportunity to promote ways that our listeners can get involved with this, because you've got a golf tournament and things like that coming up where they can directly impact the lives of these men and women dealing with PTSD. But I want to ask you both, I know one of your secrets, which is what you just said, Matt. Your foundation is in God.
Yeah.
And he is the salve that spreads over our cracks, mm-hmm. in our heart, in our lives. What is your advice to couples today? Because I feel like in more ways than one, the family is being attacked.
Goodness.
And it's so, I mean, there's so many facets to what I admire about the two of you, but the fact that you do this together, you're amazing representatives for your children, what you're doing for other people in this world that have dealt with the same things that you are facing. What do you say to couples today?
God's got to be at the front and the center. He's got you. It's a daily walk, right? It truly is. It can't be just a Sunday event.
Yes.
It's got to be daily part of your life in the center of your home and your family. That's the forefront of it. Our children, we still have 3 children at home, 15, 17, and 19. We purposely took them on a mission trip this summer to Africa, right? We took them into the slums of Africa with an organization called the Bucket Ministry, with the mission to provide water filters in areas of the world where clean water is not available. Providing that basic necessity of means of clean water into these families opened the door for us to witness and share God's love with them. And Matt and I strategically did not go out into the homes with our teenagers. We put them with a pastor and another missionary, and he and I went with a different missionary so that our children didn't have that comfort of us to complain that it was hot, that complain that they were tired, or any of those complaints that teenagers like to throw at parents.
Yeah.
And it was life-changing, eye-opening, impactful for them to go into homes and just see the homes and talk with people and realize they don't have clean water. They don't have restrooms in the homes. The home is one room, and everything is in that one room. And there could be 6 or 8 people in that one room, right? And so it was very eye-opening to our children, to the tune that they are ready to go back. They want to go back to Africa. They want to do more of this mission work. So that's been wonderful for them to get to experience. And our kids, they've really kind of stepped up in the recent weeks, wanting to become more involved in the things that we're doing. I think that was kind of the eye opener that, and so they want to be part of our golf tournament. They're going to come and be part of our conference, our C-suite symposium. Our son called us today right before the C-suite meeting. How's the meeting? How many people are there? Do you have Chick-fil-A? What's going on? Right? Just really wanting to know how things are going. So that's good. And that's what we want. It's got to be a shared thing. Like, he and I share with our kids what we're doing and the people that we're impacting, because we want them to have that same desire and love to impact others.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, I think that there's 3 things that I would tell couples. 1, you have to communicate, right? Regardless of how hard it is. You got to talk. 2, you have to have date night, and you have to do things, right? So we'll go to dinner, or once a month we'll have date night where we'll actually go out, we'll spend the night, and we'll do, whatever it is, right? It could be a play, it could be just walking around, but we're out and doing something. And then the latest thing that we have just started doing, and it hasn't become a routine yet, but we're working on it, is to start your day with everything that is good that's going on in your life, right? Everything that, it doesn't matter, it could be the littlest thing, but you will have the rest of the day to solve problems and put out fires and deal with the junk and the gunk and everything that goes along with life. But take that 5-10 minutes and really talk about and share with God, right, the good that is going on. Those couple of things, those 5 things, 10 things, it could be 100 things, right? Whatever it is, but do not let those good things go, because those are what you've probably prayed on, you've been working towards,
Yes.
you strive to do, but don't let those go. Concentrate on that, then let your day go into whatever it is, but really focus on the good.
That's beautiful, especially because it sets you up to that's what you look for throughout the rest of your day, right? If you start your day counting all of your blessings and what's positive in your life, that's going to dictate how you view everything else the rest of the day. If you are looking for the positive, that's what you're going to see. If you're looking for the negative, that's what you're going to see.
Yep.
What would be your advice to those? How do we not take what we've been through or what we're facing and allow it to make us bitter? Like, what's the difference in those individuals who, you know the phrase, get better, not bitter. What is the difference in those individuals? Like, who takes it and turns it into something positive and just sees it as, this is a speed bump and I'm going to learn something or progress out of this, versus letting it take them back into some deep dark hole. I mean, if we're, being real about it, I mean, if you view it that way, it feels almost like mold just kind of taking over and growing in your life. Like, what's the difference in those people who go one way or the other?
I think it's your tribe. I think it's, Stephen Furtick has a podcast that I listen to.
Yeah.
And, so we're rowing along and life's going. And then you're hit with something and, we continue to struggle and we continue to struggle and we continue to struggle. And let's just say that the problem that I'm dealing with is on the right side of my boat, but my left side's still going, but I'm just doing circles in my boat. My boat is just doing circles. At some point in time, you got to let your tribe come in and pick up that right oar and start rowing with you. And I think it's the inability of people to recognize and have the ability to say, I need help, right? And we, the special operations guys, and we, the first responders, are the absolute worst at that. And, so that's why I go out and tell my story. It's very easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, I left my corporate job. It's just because I didn't want to be there anymore and I wanted to do outer circle more than I wanted to do my corporate job. That's not the case. The case is that, yes, I had a medical diagnosis, but I also had PTSD that was raging in addition to. But I've had a very successful career having PTSD. And there's nothing wrong with saying that I need some help and I need to figure out what's appropriate. And I need to work on, and through Outer Circle, we have a bunch of alternative treatment methods and we have a variety of different things, right? But I think the biggest thing with the question is they waller in and try to solve it on their own, and you can't solve it on your own. If you would, then you would have already been out of it. But that's where the moss starts growing into the mold, the whatever, right? And you just can't get out of that. You need your tribe. You got to surround yourself with a tribe, and that tribe will make sure that you don't have the ability to let that moss grow.
I love that you took it there, because this is so much the core of, you're so right. It can make or break you in a lot of different ways. And so what I want to know, especially given both of your backgrounds, right? Because in the security space, detective space, military space, I feel like your level of discernment is like on a next level. I feel like you have the ability to walk in a room and feel and spot who should be in your tribe and who would never get anywhere close to your tribe. So how do we do that? How do we discern who deserves to be in our tribe and who should be far away from it?
There's chameleons. We've gotten burned the last 2 years. We've gotten burned twice by people. And I shouldn't say burned, right? Because we would do it again tomorrow.
Sure.
You know, we've taken in people and helped people, and we will continue to do it. But the people turned out to be not the people we thought they were going to be, and the people that they presented themselves to be. But I can tell you, and I think I'll let Buff talk for her, but I think that when I say it, she'll agree. I've never let anybody in my life as close as I have her. That's just true. It's not. Then I go back to people. I've always been standoffish with people because I don't let people get close, because there's a reason for that. Now, as I get later in life, and I just had the conversation about the tribe, you have to have a close tribe. That is an absolute fact, right? And you need to find those people that are your tribe. And, you know, I think when I walk in a room and I look at people, and there are people that I gravitate towards, and there are people that I repel against. And I don't know that I can ever teach that. I can teach what I look for in something like that would be much longer than this conversation. But my point is, looks and initial impression is one thing, but the conversation and where that goes, it's a much different piece than where that initial instinct lies. But usually the instinct is spot on. And we always tell people, if your gut tells you something's wrong, trust your gut.
Yeah, it's really that calibration of a person, right? What are their core values? Where do they aspire to be? And what are yours? And do they blend? Do they intersect anywhere? Right? I go back to our first phone conversation, right? I remember saying, "Who is this Whitney chick? And what does she want?"
And then she proceeded to look me up on Facebook and probably everywhere else. Look, kids, have a clean, behave yourself online. I mean, you think it doesn't matter, but it does.
It does.
Oh, it does.
It does. Yeah, we could tell a story. We could tell a lot about somebody.
I bet.
Their online presence.
I bet.
Right? But it's that calibration. It truly is that calibration, and deciding is that someone that belongs within your circle of trust? Is that someone that belongs in your immediate community, or is that someone you keep at bay? Right.
The interesting thing that we've quickly realized lately is I have no problem now cutting somebody loose that is not our tribe.
Yes.
Right. And we are very unapologetically Christian, and this is who we are, and here's our values. If you are not part of that, and that, kind of isn't your thing, that's great. Have at it. More power to you. See you later. I wish you well.
Mm-hmm.
And, more.
Yep.
Yeah. But, historically, that would have been a harder thing for me in my life, because I want to give people chances and chances and chances and chances, kind of, not to get close, but just, to be nice and whatever. Right.
Of course.
But yeah.
That's so interesting. That's it's one of the things I love about getting older. I feel like I'm wiser and bolder.
That's it.
Yeah.
I have so many things that I could ask you. So I think my last question is because I definitely want to highlight everything that you all have going on so everyone can get involved. Where do you feel that resiliency comes from? Because just hearing both of you, I mean, I've even learned more obviously today about both of your stories, but that's what I'm hearing a lot of is like, even when you said, Matt, you said we got burned, but then you're like, not really, because we still learned something out of it and we still impacted someone. Again, I think that's such a mindset thing that you have to view. You have to view the world like that.
Yeah, I've tried to take the view of everything in life is to teach us, right? We go through hard stuff, but it doesn't break us. It doesn't end us. It doesn't close us off. And we learn from that, right? And all of those learnings, I attribute those learnings back to my faith in God, right?
Yeah.
He allowed us to go through something and look at the lesson it taught us. He brought somebody into our life that turned out not to be who they portrayed to be, right? We still helped them. We still took care of them, but we also helped them on their merry way and move them out of our circle, right?
Yeah.
But it taught
Right.
us something. And we have that heart of giving and heart of caring because God asked us to care for others, right? We're supposed to do that. And so I attribute everything, good, bad, challenging, wonderful, back to there is a lesson in that. And from that lesson, we move forward. We're not in control of everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just not in control of everything. So we can't let it overwhelm us. We can't let it overtake us. We have to walk in faith and know that from everything that we do, everything we encounter, there's a lesson.
What does Jesus say? Leave the town and kick that, tap the sandals and get the dirt off your feet and move on to the next.
And that's right. And keep on going. He didn't say stop.
I have a shirt that's embrace the suck. And that's something that we had in the military, right? And it's exactly that. It's going to suck. Things are going to suck. It doesn't make them worse. It doesn't make them different. Mm-hmm. You embrace the suck. It makes it better. And then you always look back on it and go, man, remember when that sucked? Something else is going to suck tomorrow. And, hopefully it won't be worse than it was yesterday. But if it is, we've already endured that, so we can endure this.
We'll get through this.
Right? And we'll learn something out of this to make the next one not as bad as that one is. So, yeah.
I have said it before. I'll say it again every time I get around you two. I'm just like feeling all the energy and the encouragement. I'm like, yes, I'm ready to go run a marathon. I am not a runner. You bring it out. So we're going to go through everything that you have going on. And before everyone, I'm going to show all my things because I have all my little promotional materials and everyone's going to be like, Whitney, I can't see that. You're going to go to chickendudestuff.com. Chick, the letter N, dudestuff.com. But you have Few.
That's right.
Which is your Fellowship of Extraordinary Women.
Correct.
And who can join this? Entrepreneurs, executives,
retired women, school teachers, women of faith.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Women that want to learn. Mm-hmm.
And you have all this information on your site, right? Yeah. All of the, okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do not have a flyer. I know you have them, so that means I probably misplaced it. For your Outer Circle golf tournament, which is coming up in October. So also tell us about that because every single cent is going to our military vets and our first responders.
That's right. 10/10 is the date.
Matt's got it.
There's the flyer. OuterCircleFoundation.org. You can sign up to play golf. We've got a whole bunch of stuff planned for that day. You'll be well entertained between the service dogs, the golf cannon, the
We have a bagpiper from Highland Pipers. We have South Atlanta High School ROTC will be our honor guard. Kaylee will be singing the national anthem and a couple of her other songs.
Yeah.
Coast to Coast is a nonprofit that we work with. Coming Home Project is another nonprofit we work with. Pause for Life provides service animals.
Yeah.
Brian Moore from the Ames Center at KSU will be our keynote speaker. We will have a Atlanta PD officer who was shot 4 times will be there to tell his story. So he was a auto theft guy and was in a carjacking, and they ended up in the middle of a pursuit. They stopped the suspect in the middle of an arrest, and he pulled out a gun and started shooting. And he was shot in the neck, was never supposed to live, and shot in the arm and the shoulder and a bunch of places. And is alive to tell his story. So we have a couple of different silent auction and a raffle and some cool stuff. But everything goes back to the programs and things that we have to benefit our veterans and first responders.
Well, you two are absolutely amazing, and I am certainly glad that God led me to you and that our paths crossed. So
we're glad that.
Well, we are glad as well.
Yeah, we really are.
And thank you for just being so vulnerable and sharing more of your story.
Of course.
It's the tribe.
It is.
It's the good tribe. You gotta have the tribe.